We moved into our dream neighborhood 6 months ago. Now we're planning our escape and I need to warn others. I need to write this down while I still can. While I'm still me, my hands are shaking as I type this, and I keep checking the window to make sure no one's watching. Sarah thinks I'm working late. She doesn't know I've been documenting everything. If you're reading this, you need to understand something. There are neighborhoods in this country that aren't what they seem. Places where the American dream curdles into something else entirely. Maple Grove Estates is one of them. 6 months ago, my wife Sarah and I bought our first house. I'm a software engineer, she's a teacher, and we'd been saving for years. When our realtor, Janet, showed us the listing for 847 Redwood Circle, we couldn't believe it. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, granite countertops, a 2-car garage, and a backyard big enough for the kids we were planning to have. All for $340,000 in a market where similar homes were going for $500,000. Why so cheap? Sarah asked, ever the practical one. Janet had smiled, her teeth too white, too perfect. The builder overextended in 2008. These homes have been on the market for a while. The WA is eager to fill the empty houses, increase property values. You're getting a steal. The neighborhood was beautiful. Maple Grove Estates was built in 2003. A planned community of 200 homes arranged in neat cul-de-sacs, each street named after a tree. Every lawn was manicured, every house painted in approved earth tones, beige, taupe, sage green. There was a community center, a pool, playgrounds. It looked like it had been lifted straight from a lifestyle magazine. We signed the papers 3 weeks later. Day 1. Moving day was August 15th. Perfect weather, sunny and warm. Neighbors came by to introduce themselves as we unloaded the U-Haul. Margaret from next door brought lemonade. She was in her mid-50s, with ash blonde hair and a warm smile. Welcome to the neighborhood, you're going to love it here. We're like family. Tom and Linda from across the street offered to help carry boxes. Both in their 40s, athletic, friendly. Make sure you join the neighborhood Facebook group, Tom said. That's how we stay connected. The Patels from 2 houses down brought cookies. Their teenage son, Dev, seemed normal enough, awkward, glued to his phone. Everyone was so nice. That first night, exhausted from unpacking, Sarah and I sat on our back porch with a bottle of wine, watching the sunset paint our new backyard golden. We did it, Sarah said, leaning her head on my shoulder. We actually did it. I kissed the top of her head. Best decision we ever made. I believed that then. Day 8. The first week was a blur of unpacking, painting, and settling in. I started my new remote position, setting up my office in the spare bedroom upstairs. Sarah began preparing for the new school year. Life felt normal, good, even. Then came the first WA meeting. The invitation arrived in our mailbox, a cream-colored cardstock with embossed lettering. You are cordially invited to the monthly Maple Grove Estates community meeting. Attendance strongly encouraged. 7 p.m., Community Center. Do we have to go? I asked Sarah over dinner. She shrugged. Might be good to meet more people. Learn about the neighborhood. The community center was a modern building at the neighborhood's center, all glass and blonde wood. When we arrived at 6:55 p.m., the parking lot was completely full. Through the windows, I could see rows of chairs, all occupied. Wow, Sarah murmured. Everyone actually shows up to these things? Inside, the meeting room held maybe 150 people. Every seat was taken. Families sat together, perfectly groomed, smiling and chatting. I noticed several things immediately. The room was too quiet. People were talking, yes, but in hushed tones. No one was on their phone. Everyone had the same posture, sitting up straight, hands folded in laps. And the children. God, the children. At least 20 kids ranging from toddlers to teenagers, and every single one was sitting still and silent. A woman at the front stood up, mid-60s, silver hair in a neat bob, wearing a navy blazer. Welcome, everyone. Let's begin. The room fell silent instantly. No rustling, no whispers. Just silence. I'm Carol Morrison, WA president. I see we have new residents. Her eyes found us in the crowd. The Harpers, correct? 847 Redwood Circle? Sarah and I nodded. Everyone turned to look at us, and for a moment, I felt like a specimen under glass. Welcome to Maple Grove Estates. We're so glad you're here. Carol's smile didn't reach her eyes. Before we begin standard business, let's review our community guidelines for our new neighbors. She clicked a remote, and a PowerPoint appeared on the screen behind her. I almost laughed. An HOA PowerPoint seemed so absurdly mundane. The slides detailed standard stuff at first. Trash bins must be brought in within 12 hours of pickup. No lawn decorations except during approved holiday periods. Exterior paint colors must be approved. Cars must be parked in garages overnight. Then the slides got weirder. Neighborhood watch walks occur nightly at 10 p.m., 2 a.m., and 5 a.m. Residents are assigned rotating shifts. You'll receive your schedule within the week. Community events are mandatory. 3 absences per year may result in fines. The woods at the neighborhood boundary are private property. No trespassing. All exterior security cameras must be registered with the WA and feed must be accessible for community safety purposes. I leaned over to Sarah. This is excessive, right? Before she could answer, Carol spoke again. I know some guidelines seem strict, but they ensure our community remains safe and property values stay high. We've had no crime, no vandalism, no disturbances in 5 years. That's because we look out for each other. The way she said, "Look out for each other," made my skin crawl. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Most of it was numbingly boring, budget discussions, landscaping contracts, pool maintenance schedules. But I couldn't shake the feeling that everyone was performing. Smiling too much, agreeing too readily. No one argued, no one questioned. As we filed out, Margaret caught up with us. "Don't worry about all the rules," she said brightly. "You get used to them. And really, it's worth it. This is the safest neighborhood I've ever lived in." "How long have you been here?" Sarah asked. Margaret's smile flickered, just for a second. "Oh, we moved in when the development opened. 2003. Best decision we ever made." The exact words Sarah and I had said to each other. Day 12. I was working in my office when I heard it, a low, mechanical hum. It seemed to be coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. I checked my computer, thinking maybe it was a fan, but when I turned it off, the sound continued. I walked through the house, trying to locate the source. It was loudest near the walls. When I pressed my ear against the drywall in our bedroom, I could feel a faint vibration. "Sarah," I called downstairs. "Do you hear that?" She came up, frowning. "Hear what?" "That humming sound." She stood still, listening. After a moment, she shook her head. "I don't hear anything, babe. Maybe it's the AC?" I checked the thermostat. The AC was off. The sound continued for another 10 minutes, then stopped as suddenly as it had started. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I got up for water and glanced out our bedroom window. Every single front porch light on our street was on. And standing in the glow of each light was a figure. Just standing there, completely still. My heart hammered. I watched for 5 full minutes. No one moved. They just stood there, facing the street. No, not facing the street. Facing our house. I counted 11 people. Margaret was there. Tom and Linda. The Patels. Others I didn't recognize. All standing in identical poses. Hands at their sides, faces tilted slightly upward. "What the fuck?" I whispered. I grabbed my phone and took a video, but my hands were shaking so badly the footage was useless. When I looked back out the window, everyone was gone. The porch lights were still on, but the people had vanished. I checked the time. 2:07 a.m. Hadn't Carol mentioned something about 2 a.m. neighborhood watch walks? I went back to bed but didn't sleep. When I told Sarah about it in the morning, she looked worried, not about the neighbors, but about me. "You're stressed from the move," she said gently. "New job, new house. Maybe you were dreaming?" I wasn't dreaming. I took a video. I showed her my phone. The video showed our dark street and nothing. No people, no porch lights, just darkness. "That's impossible," I said. "They were there. The lights were on." Sarah squeezed my hand. Let's give it a few weeks, okay? We're both adjusting." I wanted to argue, but doubt crept in. Had I been dreaming? I'd been so tired lately. Day 19. The neighborhood watch schedule arrived in our mailbox. It was a printed spreadsheet, laminated and color-coded. Our names were highlighted in yellow. "Monday nights, 2 to 3 a.m. patrol," Sarah read aloud. What does that even mean? We're supposed to walk around the neighborhood at 2 a.m.? I grabbed the paper. There was a phone number at the bottom. I called it immediately. Carol Morrison answered on the first ring. Hello, David. I was expecting your call. I hadn't given my name. How did you? Caller ID, she said smoothly. You're calling about the watch schedule? Yes. This seems excessive. We both work, we need sleep. Everyone participates, David. It's in the WA bylaws you signed. Section 12, paragraph 4. Community safety is everyone's responsibility. But what are we even watching for? A pause. Anything unusual. Anyone who doesn't belong. You'll understand when you do your first patrol. And if we don't? Her voice cooled. There are penalties for non-compliance. Fines start at $500. But it won't come to that. No one refuses patrol. You'll see why. She hung up. Sarah and I argued about it for hours. She wanted to just do it. It's 1 hour a week. How bad can it be? But I was angry. We'd bought a house, not joined a cult. That night, I decided to do some research. I pulled up property records for our address and started digging. Our house was originally purchased in November 2003 by a couple named Jennifer and Mark Reeves. They'd paid $425,000, substantially more than we paid. They sold in 2006 for $380,000, taking a loss. The next owners were the Chen family. They bought in 2006 and sold in 2008 for $310,000, an even bigger loss. Then came the Johnsons, 2008 to 2011. Sold for $298,000. The Pratts, 2011 to 2014. Sold for $285,000. The Hendersons, 2014 to 2018. Sold for $260,000. The Kowalskis, 2018 to 2022. Sold for $290,000. Venice, in 2024, for $340,000. 6 previous owners in 20 years. Every single one had sold at a loss or barely broken even. The property value had actually decreased over time, which made no sense in this market. I started searching for the previous owners online, trying to find contact information. Facebook, LinkedIn, anywhere. I found 3 of them. Jennifer Reeves had a Facebook profile. I sent her a message. Hi Jennifer, I just bought your old house at 847 Redwood Circle in Maple Grove, Estates. Would love to hear about your experience there. Mark Chen was on LinkedIn. I sent a similar message. No one from the Johnson family had any social media presence I could find, which seemed odd for people in their 30s. 2 days later, Jennifer Reeves responded. Get out. Get out while you still can. I called her immediately. She answered, her voice tight with fear. Mrs. Reeves? This is David Harper. I know who you are. They told me someone new moved in. Listen to me very carefully. You need to leave that house, that neighborhood, right now. Tonight. My mouth went dry. What are you talking about? How long have you been there? 3 weeks. She let out a shaky breath. You might still be okay. We lasted 4 months before we realized. Realized what? I can't explain over the phone. They're probably listening. They listen to everything. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Check your basement. Behind the water heater. There's a crawl space. Look inside. Mrs. Reeves. That's all I can say. Please, just look. And if you find what I think you'll find, leave. Don't pack. Don't think about it. Just get in your car and drive. She hung up. Day 20. I didn't tell Sarah about the phone call. She was already worried about me, and I needed to know what was in our basement before I scared her more. I waited until she left for a teacher training workshop. Then I grabbed a flashlight and went downstairs. Our basement was unfinished. Concrete floors, exposed joists, the water heater and furnace in one corner. I'd been down here a dozen times. I'd never noticed a crawl space. But when I moved the plastic storage bins away from the wall behind the water heater, I saw it. A small access panel, maybe 2 feet square, painted the same color as the wall. You wouldn't notice it unless you were looking. My hands trembled as I unscrewed the panel. The space behind was dark, narrow. I shined my flashlight inside. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. The crawl space was maybe 4 feet deep and ran along the entire back wall of the house. And it was full of stuff. Photographs. Hundreds of them. Pinned to the walls, scattered on the ground. Photos of the previous owners. Jennifer and Mark Reeves laughing in their kitchen. The Chens unpacking boxes. The Johnsons' wedding photo. All of them in our house, living their lives, unaware they were being photographed. But that wasn't the worst part. Underneath the photos were notebooks. Spiral bound, cheap. I grabbed the closest one and opened it. The pages were filled with handwritten logs, dates, times, and detailed notes about the occupants' activities. November 15, 7:45 a.m. Jennifer left for work. Mark remained home. Observed watching TV in living room until 9:30 a.m. November 16, 10:22 p.m. Argument between J and M, raised voices heard from bedroom. Topic: financial stress. Duration: 34 minutes. November 20th, 2:15 a.m. J woke, went to kitchen, drank water, returned to bed. M did not wake. Page after page, every day, every single day of their occupancy. I grabbed another notebook. The Chens, same meticulous detail. Another. The Johnsons. I found 6 notebooks total, one for each family. At the bottom of the crawl space was a 7th notebook. New, mostly empty. The first entry was dated August 15th, our move-in day. The Harpers arrived at 9:30 a.m. 2 occupants. David, 32, software engineer, and Sarah, 30, teacher. No children, no pets. Unloading U-Haul. Margaret initiated contact at 10:15 a.m. David seemed receptive, Sarah more cautious. Assessment. Standard integration timeline should apply. I couldn't breathe. Someone had been watching us, recording our every move, from day one. I kept reading, my horror growing with each entry. 8/18 David working in upstairs office. Observed on laptop from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. 2 bathroom breaks. 1 phone call to mother at 1:30 p.m. 8:20 Sarah went grocery shopping at 4 p.m. David remained home. Noted. David appears stressed. Insomnia developing. Monitoring recommended. 8:25 Both occupants left for date night at 6:30 p.m. Property access completed during absence. Confirmed network successfully installed. Monitoring equipment operational. The handwriting changed throughout. Different people were taking turns logging our lives. I scrambled out of the crawl space, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. I needed to call Sarah. We needed to leave, right now, just like Jennifer said. But then I heard it, the sound of a car pulling into our driveway. I ran upstairs, looking out the front window. Tom from across the street was walking up our front path. Behind him, I could see Linda and Margaret and 2 other neighbors I didn't know. The doorbell rang. I didn't answer. David? Tom called through the door. We know you're home. We need to talk. The doorbell rang again. And again. David, please open the door. We saw you go into the crawl space. We need to explain. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Are you okay? Tom just texted me saying he's worried about you. Did something happen? They had Sarah's number. Of course they did. They probably had everything. Another text. This time from a number I didn't recognize. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Open the door and let's have a civilized conversation. I called 911. 911. What's your emergency? There are people outside my house. They're harassing me. They've been spying on me and my wife. Sir, can you give me your address? 847 Redwood Circle, Maple Grove Estates. A pause. Maple Grove Estates? Hold please. The hold music played for 30 seconds. Then a different voice came on the line, deeper, male, bored. Mr. Harper, this is Sergeant Reeves. I'm familiar with Maple Grove. What seems to be the problem? Someone's been watching my house, recording everything we do. There are people outside right now. Are they threatening you? No, but, have they tried to break in? No, they're just. Sir, it sounds like your neighbors are trying to have a conversation with you. That's not a police matter. If they become threatening or violent, call us back. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, Mr. Harper. Maple Grove is a safe community with an active neighborhood watch. Sometimes new residents need time to adjust to how involved everyone is. I suggest you talk to your neighbors. Work it out like adults. He hung up. The doorbell rang again. Tom's voice. David, we're not leaving until you open this door. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. I had no choice. I opened the door. 5 of them stood on my porch. Tom, Linda, Margaret, and 2 men I'd seen at the WA meeting but never spoken to. They filed into my house without invitation. Sit down, Margaret said, her earlier warmth completely gone. We have a lot to discuss. Day 20 continued. They sat in my living room like they owned it. Tom on my couch, Margaret in Sarah's favorite reading chair. The other three stood, blocking the exits. You found the monitoring station, Tom said. It wasn't a question. That's unfortunate. We usually give new residents more time before the reveal. Who the fuck are you people? My voice shook. What is this place? Margaret sighed. This is going to take some time. Would you like coffee? Water? I want you out of my house. No, Tom said simply. Not until you understand. Please, sit down. One of the men I didn't know, tall, muscular, blocking the front door, gestured to the armchair across from Tom. I sat. Tom leaned forward, hands clasped. David, what do you know about Maple Grove Estate's history? Nothing. I know nothing because you're all fucking crazy and... The development was founded in 2003, Tom continued as if I hadn't spoken. By a company called Meridian Community Solutions. They built 200 homes, sold them quickly. Young families, professionals, retirees. A perfect American community. He paused, studying me. But Meridian wasn't a normal development company. They are a subsidiary of a private equity firm that specializes in social experiments. Long-term behavioral studies. Controlled environment analysis. I stared at him. What the fuck are you talking about? Margaret jumped in. They wanted to study how communities function when certain variables are optimized. What happens when you create a perfectly controlled neighborhood? When you monitor everything, guide everything, shape everything. So this is, what? Some kind of Truman Show shit? Not quite, Linda said softly. She looked uncomfortable. We're not actors, David. We're residents. But we're also participants. In what? Tom stood, pacing. When you moved to Maple Grove, you signed the WA agreement. You probably didn't read it carefully, no one does. But buried in Section 47, subsection C, there's a clause. By residing here, you consent to participate in ongoing community wellness and behavioral optimization studies. That's not legally binding. You can't. Actually, we can, one of the unknown men said. He had a slight accent, German, maybe. The legal team is very thorough. You consented, so did every resident. My mind reeled. So you're all what? Research subjects? No, Margaret said, we're researchers. And subjects. Both. She explained it then, while I sat frozen in disbelief. Meridian's experiment had a simple premise. Create a community where behavior is transparent and accountability is absolute. Monitor every resident constantly. Track patterns, relationships, conflicts. Use the data to optimize everything, from neighborhood watch schedules to community event planning to conflict resolution. In the first few years, it was just surveillance, Tom said. Cameras, microphones, tracking software, collecting data, but then the study evolved. We realized that when people know they're being watched, when they know their neighbors see everything, they behave better. Crime disappears, conflict decreases. Social cohesion increases. You're describing a police state, I said. We're describing utopia, Margaret countered. Do you know how rare it is to live somewhere with zero crime? Where neighbors actually care about each other. Where children are safe. Because everyone's terrified of being watched. No, Linda said gently. Because everyone's accountable. Think about it, David. How often do people do terrible things because they think no one's looking? How many marriages fail because couples hide things from each other? How many children suffer because parents think their abuse is private? We've eliminated all that, Tom said. Perfect transparency creates perfect community. I wanted to vomit. So you watch us, record us, in our own home. Every room, the German man confirmed. Audio and visual. The cameras are built into the infrastructure. Very small. You'll never find them all. And the notebooks? Why write everything down like some kind of fucking stalker? Margaret smiled. Handwritten logs are part of the discipline. Writing forces observation, attention to detail. Every resident takes shifts monitoring their assigned household. Usually 2 hours, 3 times a week. You'll start your monitoring shifts once you've been fully integrated. Integrated, I repeated numbly. It takes about 6 months, Tom explained. Some residents figure things out early, like you did. Others never question anything. The key is gradual acceptance. You're upset now, but in a few months, you'll see the benefits. You'll understand why we all stay. The property values, I said suddenly. They've been dropping. Because people leave. People find out and they run. Tom's expression hardened. Some people can't adjust. They leave. But most don't. Most realize this is better than whatever they left behind. Jennifer Reeves warned me. She told me to run. Jennifer was unstable, Margaret said dismissively. She had paranoid tendencies before she moved here. The surveillance triggered her, but her husband Mark adapted perfectly. He still lives here, actually. Remarried a lovely woman named Patricia. You've probably seen them at the pool. My blood ran cold. She said. They told her we'd moved in. You people are still in contact with her? We maintain relationships with former residents, the German man said. Sometimes they come back. Sometimes they warn others. When they do, we monitor the new residents more carefully. To ensure smooth integration. You're insane. All of you. Tom's patience finally cracked. Insane? David, look at the world outside this neighborhood. Mass shootings. Political violence. Neighbors who don't know each other's names. Loneliness. Isolation. Despair. We've solved all that. Here, everyone knows everyone. Everyone looks out for each other. We haven't had a single violent crime in 5 years. No break-ins, no assaults, no domestic violence. Because everyone knows they're being watched. Everyone knows their neighbors will intervene. You've created a prison. We've created paradise, Margaret said. And you're going to learn to love it. Everyone does, eventually. They left then, filing out of my house as calmly as they'd entered. Margaret paused at the door. Sarah will be home in 2 hours. We recommend you don't tell her about today's conversation. Let her adjust naturally. It's easier that way. She's my wife. I'm telling her everything. Margaret's smile was pitying. You can try. But David, we know everything about you. Every email, every text, every phone call. We know about the $47,000 in credit card debt you're hiding from Sarah. We know about the job application you submitted last month to a company in Seattle, behind Sarah's back. We know you've been resenting her for wanting kids when you're not sure you do. My stomach dropped. We know everything, she repeated. And if you try to leave, if you try to expose us, we'll know that too. We'll make sure Sarah knows everything about you. Every lie, every secret, every doubt. Is that really what you want? She closed the door gently behind her. Day 21. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in bed next to Sarah, who slept peacefully, and I stared at the ceiling, trying to find the cameras. Trying to figure out where they were watching from. Every shadow looked suspicious. Every air vent, every smoke detector. They knew everything. Sarah stirred around 3 a.m., reaching for me. Can't sleep? Just work stress, I lied. She hummed sympathetically and drifted back to sleep. I thought about what Margaret had said. About my secrets. The credit card debt was from my last job, when I'd been unemployed for 8 months and too proud to tell Sarah how bad it had gotten. The Seattle application was just exploratory. I wasn't even sure I wanted to leave. And the kid thing. That was complicated. But they were right. These were things I'd never told Sarah. Things that could hurt her. Hurt us. They had me trapped. At 7 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Your first monitoring shift is tonight, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. You'll be observing the Peterson family at 923 Oak Drive. Carol will brief you at 9:45 p.m. Don't be late. Another text. Remember, David, this is for the good of the community. You'll understand soon. Day 22. I couldn't tell Sarah. Every time I tried, the words stuck in my throat. What would I even say? Our neighbors are spying on us? We're part of some sick experiment? Oh, and by the way, I've been lying to you about our finances? Instead, I played along. At 9:45 p.m., I told Sarah I was going for a walk. She barely looked up from her lesson plans. Carol Morrison was waiting for me outside the community center. She handed me a tablet and a key. The Petersons are a family of 4, she said briskly. Father works from home, mother's a nurse, 2 kids, ages 8 and 10. Your job is simple. Watch the camera feeds, log anything notable. Behavioral changes, conflicts, anything unusual. And if I refuse? Her smile was thin. You won't. Come inside. I'll show you how it works. The community center had a basement I'd never known existed. Carol led me down a stairwell behind the kitchen, through a locked door, into a long corridor lined with small rooms. Each monitoring station is assigned to a specific household, she explained, opening one of the doors. Inside was a small office. Desk, chair, computer monitors. The monitors showed multiple camera feeds. I counted 16 screens, each showing a different room of a house. Living room, kitchen, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, garage, even the backyard. Jesus Christ, I whispered. The Petersons consented, Carol said. Just like you did, just like everyone does. On the screens, I could see the family. The father, Greg, was in bed, reading. The mother, Amy, was in the bathroom, brushing her teeth. The kids were asleep in their rooms. You'll log everything for 2 hours, Carol said, gesturing to the computer. There's a template. Activities, conversations, anything noteworthy. If you see anything concerning, arguments, suspicious behavior, potential safety issues, you flag it immediately. The system alerts the relevant neighbors for intervention. Intervention? We don't let problems fester, David. If a couple is fighting, neighbors check in. If a child seems distressed, we investigate. That's how we maintain community health. Through constant vigilance and immediate action. She left me alone in the room. I sat there for 2 hours, feeling like the worst kind of voyeur. I watched Greg fall asleep around 10:30. I watched Amy check on both kids before going to bed. I watched their house settle into stillness. And I logged it all. 10:47 p.m. Amy checked on daughter Emma. Adjusted blankets. Whispered, "Love you." Daughter did not wake. 11:15 p.m. All household members asleep. No unusual activity. By midnight, I felt dirty. Complicit. But also, I started to understand the seduction of it. Because as I watched the Petersons sleep, I noticed something. Their smoke detector was blinking wrong. Too fast. It should blink once every minute or so. This one was blinking every few seconds. I flagged it in the system as potential electrical issue. Within 5 minutes, my phone buzzed. A text from Tom. Good catch. We'll have an electrician check it tomorrow. This is why the system works. They were right. I'd potentially caught a fire hazard before it became a problem. But at what cost? Day 28. I did 3 more monitoring shifts over the next week. Different families each time. I logged their meals, their TV habits, their bedtimes. I watched a couple have sex and documented it as intimate relations, 23 minutes, normal behavioral patterns. I watched a teenage boy cry in his bedroom and noted, emotional distress, monitoring recommended. I became one of them. Sarah noticed the change in me. You seem better, she said one morning over coffee. Not as stressed. Just adjusting, I said. She squeezed my hand. I'm glad. I was worried about you. You seemed so paranoid those first few weeks. I almost told her then. Almost explained everything. But what would be the point? We couldn't leave, not without destroying our finances, our relationship, everything. The cameras would always be watching. The neighbors would always know. Maybe it was better this way. But then came the community barbecue. The invitation said attendance was mandatory. Annual late summer celebration, at the community park. All residents expected. Sarah was excited. This'll be fun. We can finally meet everyone properly. The park was packed when we arrived. Every family in the neighborhood seemed to be there, grilling, playing volleyball, kids running around. It looked like a stock photo of suburban bliss. Margaret waved us over. Sarah, David, come get some food. We joined the buffet line. Everything looked perfect. Burgers, hot dogs, salads, desserts. As I reached for a plate, I noticed something strange. At every picnic table, there was a small placard. White card, black text. They all said the same thing. Remember. Good neighbors make good community. Good community makes good life. Good life requires good neighbors. What's with the signs? I asked Margaret. Oh, just a reminder, she said cheerfully, of our community values. Sarah and I found a table with Tom, Linda, and their 2 kids. As we ate, I watched the other families. Everyone was smiling, laughing. Kids played without parents hovering. It really did look perfect. Then I noticed the woman. She was sitting alone at a table at the edge of the park, holding a paper plate but not eating. Mid-30s, dark hair, eyes hollow. She looked wrong. Out of place, like someone going through the motions of normalcy without quite achieving it. Who's that? I asked Tom, nodding toward her. Tom glanced over, and his expression darkened. That's Rachel Henderson. Her family used to live at your address, actually. Years ago. She still lives here? Her husband and kids moved away. Rachel stayed. Why? Tom exchanged a look with Linda. She had trouble adjusting. Tried to fight the system. Made some poor choices. Now she's under intensive